The great doors of the throne hall opened slowly. They were made of crystal and gold. They had not opened like this in many years. Everyone inside the hall turned to look. Princess Aelindra stood in the doorway. The entire hall became silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The princess had been dead for 12 years. Everyone knew this. The whole empire had mourned her. The empress herself had declared a year of sorrow. But here she was, alive, standing in the doorway like a ghost made real. Aelindra was different now. Her silver-blue skin had small scars on it. Her hands looked strong and rough. Her eyes had a new light in them. She was not the soft, gentle princess who had disappeared long ago. She was something else now, something stronger. But it was not her changed appearance that made everyone gasp. It was the two small figures standing beside her. Two human children held onto her robes. A boy who looked about 10 years old. A girl who looked about 7. They had soft brown skin and dark hair, and bright, curious eyes. They looked up at the alien assembly without any fear. The boy stood slightly in front of his sister. He was protecting her. This was clear to everyone who watched. The little girl tugged at Aelindra's sleeve. She whispered something. Aelindra smiled down at her with such warmth that several nobles felt their hearts twist. "Mother," the boy said loudly. His voice was clear. He spoke the Valanthi language with a strange accent. "Are these the people you told us about?" "Mother." The word echoed through the hall. "Mother." Whispers exploded everywhere. Nobles turned to each other with wide eyes. Guards gripped their weapons tighter. Servants pressed against the walls. Humans. The princess had returned with human children. Everyone in the Valanthi Empire knew about humans. They were a young species from a small blue planet far away. The Empire had placed them in quarantine. They were not allowed to travel freely among the stars. The Valanthi considered them too wild, too emotional, too dangerous. And now the heir to the greatest empire in the galaxy stood before them with two human children calling her mother. Empress Seraphine VII sat upon her crystalline throne. She had not moved since the doors opened. Her face showed nothing, but her hands gripped the armrests so tightly that her knuckles had turned pale. Beside the throne stood Princess Thessaly. She was the younger daughter. When Aelindra disappeared, Thessaly became the new heir. She had spent 12 years preparing to become empress. Now she watched her sister with cold, calculating eyes. Aelindra walked forward. Her steps were confident. The children walked with her, matching her pace. The boy kept looking around, studying everything. The girl held her mother's hand tightly but did not hide her face. The crowd parted before them like water. Aelindra stopped at the proper distance from the throne. She performed the traditional bow of a returning child. It was not the deep bow of a subject. It was the bow of family. This was deliberate. This was a message. "Mother," Aelindra said. Her voice carried through the perfect acoustics of the hall. "I have come home." She placed her hands on the children's shoulders. "And I have brought your grandchildren to meet you." The hall erupted in noise. Nobles shouted, some in anger, some in confusion, some in wonder. The guards looked to the empress for orders. Thessaly whispered urgently to her advisors. The empress raised one hand. Silence fell instantly. She rose from her throne. She was tall and elegant. Her silver-blue skin was unmarked by age, though she had lived for 3 centuries. Her eyes were ancient and unreadable. She walked down the steps slowly. Every step seemed to take a year. The entire court watched and waited. She stopped in front of Aelindra. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Mother and daughter, empress and lost heir. 2 women separated by 12 years and countless questions. Then the empress spoke. Her voice was ice. "My daughter died in the void collapse of Sector 9. Her ship was destroyed. No survivors were found. The Empire mourned her." She paused. "Whoever you are, you have exactly 1 cycle to explain yourself. If your explanation fails, I will have you executed for treason." Aelindra did not flinch. She did not look afraid. Instead, she smiled. It was a strange smile. It was the smile of someone who had survived terrible things. It was the smile of someone who was no longer afraid of threats. "Oh, Mother," she said softly. "I have so much to tell you." The little girl tugged at Alindra's robe again. "Mama," she whispered, though everyone could hear. "The lady looks angry. Is she really our grandmother?" Alindra knelt down. She looked into her daughter's eyes with pure love. "Yes, little flower, she is. She is just surprised. She thought I was gone forever. But you came back," the boy said. "You always come back. That is what you do. That is what humans taught me to do," Alindra said. She stood again and faced the Empress. "Humans taught me many things, Mother. They taught me to survive. They taught me to fight. They taught me to love so fiercely that nothing could break me." She took a step closer to the throne. "And they taught me the truth. About my ship. About the sabotage. About who wanted me dead." The hall went completely silent again. "I know who tried to kill me 12 years ago, Mother. I have proof. And I know they are planning something terrible right now." Her eyes moved to Thessaly for just 1 second. "Something that will destroy billions of innocent lives." The Empress stared at her returned daughter. The children held their mother's hands. And somewhere in the crowd, a shadowy figure quietly slipped toward the exit, already sending a secret message to allies far away. The lost princess had returned, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Empress brought Alindra to a private chamber. Guards stood at every door. A truth-seer sat in the corner. This was an ancient Valanthe with pure white eyes who could tell if anyone spoke lies. The children stayed close to their mother. They were not afraid. They had seen worse things than angry empresses. "Speak," the Empress commanded. "Tell me everything." Alindra sat down. She pulled both children onto a soft couch beside her. Then she began her story. 12 years ago, my ship did not simply fall into the void collapse. It was sabotaged. Someone wanted me dead." The Empress's eyes narrowed. "Sabotage?" "We investigated. We found nothing, because the saboteurs were very careful and very powerful." Alindra paused. "I did not die, Mother. My emergency pod launched before the ship was destroyed. It threw me into uncharted space. I was badly wounded. My body's healing was failing." She touched a scar on her arm. "I crashed on a small planet, a human colony world called New Appalachia. It was far from Earth, far from everything, a rough place. Miners and farmers lived there, people who had run away from busier worlds." The truth-seer nodded slowly. "Every word was true. The humans who found me had every reason to let me die," Alindra continued. "The Valanthe Empire had treated their kind badly. We called them uncivilized. We restricted their travel. We looked down on them." Her voice grew soft. "But a woman named Elena Vasquez pulled me from the wreckage. She was a healer, a former soldier, a widow. She had lost her own children to a terrible sickness years before." Little Lily looked up. "Grandmother Elena," she said quietly. Alindra smiled and stroked her daughter's hair. "Yes, little flower. Grandmother Elena." She looked back at the Empress. "Elena spent 6 months saving my life. She barely slept. She used all her medicine. She traded her valuables for supplies. She never asked for anything in return. When I asked her why, she said something I will never forget." The chamber was completely silent. She said, "Because you needed help. That is enough reason." The Empress sat very still. Her face showed nothing, but her eyes flickered with something that might have been surprise. "I recovered slowly," Alindra continued. "I was too weak to travel, too damaged to call for rescue. So I stayed. And I learned." "Learned what?" the Empress asked. "Everything." Alindra's voice grew stronger. "I learned what humans truly are. Not the wild animals our empire believes them to be. Something far more interesting." Said. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the imperial gardens stretched forever. "Humans are not like us, Mother. We, Valanthe, plan for centuries. We move slowly. We avoid conflict. We believe we are superior because we are patient." She turned back. "Humans taught me a different kind of strength." Young Marcus spoke up. His voice was proud. Humans never give up. That is our way. Alindra nodded. I watched Elena work 18 hours every day. Then she would still find time to read stories to the orphaned children she had taken in. I asked her how she did it. She laughed and said humans were too stubborn to know when to quit. The truthseer nodded again. Still true. I learned adaptability. The colonists on New Appalachia had technology from many species. Old things. Broken things. They made them work together in ways that should have been impossible. Human engineers do not accept the word impossible. They hear it as a challenge. She paused. Her expression grew serious. And I learned about protective fury. The Empress leaned forward slightly. Raiders attacked the colony one day. Pirates looking for easy victims. They expected farmers and miners to surrender quickly. Alindra's voice hardened. They were wrong. What happened? The Empress asked. The humans fought back. Not like soldiers. Like something else entirely. I saw a grandmother pick up a mining tool and defend her grandchildren. I saw teenagers set traps that would shame military engineers. I saw Elena lead the defense, like a general born for war. Alindra looked at her children. Humans do not fight because they enjoy it. They fight because they love so deeply that they will become anything to protect that love. I had never seen such thing before. Censure. She sat back down and held her children close. The raiders were defeated, but they sent a message to their allies. A larger group came months later. Many more ships, many more fighters. Her voice dropped. Elena died in that battle. She died protecting the children she had saved. She died protecting me. Lily's eyes were wet. Marcus put his arm around his sister. Elena had taken in 2 orphans before she found me. A boy and a girl. Human children whose parents had died in a crashed refugee ship. Alindra kissed the top of each child's head. Marcus and Lily. She looked at the Empress with fierce pride. When Elena died, I made a choice. I became their mother. I raised them for 7 years. We moved from place to place. Always hiding. Always surviving. Why did you hide? The Empress asked. Why not return home? Because I knew someone powerful wanted me dead. And I did not know who. I needed to protect my children first. I needed to find the truth. Alindra stood again. I finally decoded the sabotage signature from my ship's records. I know who ordered my death. Her eyes blazed. And I discovered something worse. Much worse. What? The same people who tried to kill me are planning to destroy Earth. The human homeworld. Billions of innocent lives. She pointed toward the door. Beyond it, somewhere in the palace, Princess Thessaly waited. My sister is involved, Mother. I have proof, and we have very little time. The truth-seer spoke for the first time. Her ancient voice was heavy. She speaks true, Majesty. Every word. The Empress closed her eyes. And somewhere far away, a massive fleet began moving toward a small blue planet that did not know death was coming. The Imperial Intelligence Chambers became a war room. Holographic displays filled the air with data. Analysts worked at every station. The Empress herself sat watching as her returned daughter revealed secrets that had been buried for centuries. Alindra stood before a massive display screen. Her children sat nearby with guards watching them. But Marcus was not sitting quietly. His eyes followed every data stream. His young mind was working. Show them, the Empress commanded. Alindra touched the controls. Images appeared. Documents, communication records, financial transfers. A web of conspiracy spread across the display like a dark spider web. For over 100 years, Alindra began, a shadow faction has existed within our empire. Powerful noble houses, wealthy merchants, military leaders. They have been working toward one goal. She changed the display. The complete destruction of humanity. The analysts murmured among themselves. The Empress raised her hand for silence. Why? She asked. Humans are confined to their quarantine zone. They pose no threat to us. Alindra smiled bitterly. That is what they wanted everyone to believe. But the Shadow faction knew the truth. They commissioned secret studies centuries ago. Projections about the future of all species in the galaxy. She brought up the hidden models. Look at these numbers, Mother. human population growth, human technological advancement, human cultural spread. The data painted a clear picture. Within 2,000 years, humans would become the dominant species in the galaxy, not through war, not through conquest, through something far more powerful. What? The Empress demanded. Integration. Elindra let the word hang in the air. Humans make friends everywhere they go. They adopt customs from other species. They share their own customs freely. They marry into other cultures. Their artists create works that make other species weep with emotion. Their engineers solve problems that others call impossible. She pointed at the projections. Humans do not conquer worlds. They change them, slowly, gently, permanently. Every species that spends time with humans becomes a little bit human themselves. An old analyst spoke up. His voice was shaking. They are not a threat. They are a catalyst. Everything they touch transforms. Exactly, Elindra said. And the Shadow faction feared this more than any weapon. They could not fight human kindness. They could not stop human laughter. So they decided to end humanity entirely. The Empress stood. Her face was pale. Who leads this faction? Elindra hesitated. Then she spoke the words she had traveled across the galaxy to say. Princess Thessaly is deeply involved. She helped clear the path for what is coming. But she is not the true enemy. Guards were already moving. Minutes later, Thessaly was brought to the chamber in restraints. She did not look afraid. She looked amused. Sister, Thessaly said sweetly. You survived. How unfortunate. You tried to kill me, Elindra replied calmly. I did what was necessary. Humans are a disease. You were infected by them. I could see it happening even before you left. Your soft heart. Your foolish mercy. Thessaly laughed. I did the Empire a favor. The Empress stepped forward. Her voice was ice. You tried to murder your own sister. For the good of our people. Thessaly's calm cracked. You do not see what is coming. Humans will change everything. Our culture. Our traditions. Our very identity. They must be stopped. And how do you plan to stop billions of innocent people? Elindra asked. Thessaly smiled again. It was an ugly smile. I do not need to do anything. The Hollow Covenant will handle it. The room went cold. The Hollow Covenant. Even the Empress knew that name. A coalition of dying species. Races whose worlds were failing. Peoples with no future. They had banded together in the dark corners of the galaxy, and they had sworn that if they could not survive, neither would anyone else. You allied with those monsters? The Empress whispered. I simply helped them, Thessaly said. Removed obstacles. Provided information. The Covenant has built a weapon. They call it the Silence. It can sterilize entire worlds. Kill every living thing. And they are taking it to Earth right now. Elindra grabbed her sister's arm. How long do we have? Thessaly pulled free. It does not matter. You cannot stop them. By the time your fleet arrives, Earth will be ash. 8 billion humans will be dead. And the galaxy will finally have peace. Little Lily had been listening. Her small face was wet with tears. All those people, she whispered. All those children. Marcus stood up. His hands were shaking. But not with fear. With anger. We have to stop them, he said. His voice was strong. Mother, we have to do something. Elindra looked at her son. She saw Elena in his stubborn jaw. She saw humanity's fire in his eyes. We will, she promised. The Empress turned to her military commanders. How fast can we mobilize the fleet? 6 hours, Majesty. But reaching Earth will take 3 days. If the enemy is already moving, then we may be too late, the Empress finished. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the palace. Red lights flashed. A commander rushed into the chamber. His face was white with shock. Majesty, we have received a transmission from the human quarantine zone. The Hollow Covenant fleet has arrived early. They are already approaching Earth. They will reach the planet in 72 hours. 72 hours. 3 days. The same time needed for the Valanthi fleet to arrive. It would be a race against death itself. Aelindra knelt before the Empress. "Mother, I beg you, send the fleet. Save them. Save my children's people." The Empress looked at the human children. At their tears, at their hope, she made her decision. "All fleets, mobilize immediately. We fly for Earth." She paused. "And may the stars forgive us for waiting so long to see the truth." All. The race had begun. Above the blue-green planet called Earth, 17 human ships faced 800 enemy vessels. The numbers were impossible. Everyone knew this. The humans knew it best of all. But they were not running. Lieutenant Commander James Chen stood on the bridge of his old cruiser. The ship was called the Defiant Hope. It was held together with repairs and prayers. Half its systems were failing. It did not matter. "All ships," Chen spoke into his communicator. "This is our home. Behind us are 8 billion people. Our families. Our children. Our future." He looked at the massive Hollow Covenant fleet on his screen. "They expect us to run. They expect us to surrender. They forgot what humans are." He pressed the command button. "All ships, attack." 17 small ships flew straight toward 800 enemies. The Hollow Covenant commander watched this with confusion. His tactical officers had calculated everything. The humans could not win. They could not even survive. Why were they not fleeing? Why were they not begging for mercy? He received his answer in fire. Human ships were not elegant. They were not advanced. They were not beautiful. But they were built by a species that had spent its entire history fighting. Fighting nature. Fighting each other. Fighting everything that tried to destroy them. The first human ship crashed directly into a Covenant cruiser. Both exploded. The human pilot had aimed for the engine core. He knew he would die. He did it anyway. 3 more Covenant ships fell. Chen led the charge. His ship twisted and turned through enemy fire. Human pilots flew like they had nothing to lose. Because they did not. "Remember our history," Chen shouted to his fleet. "Remember every time someone told humanity to lie down and die. Remember every time we refused." A young pilot's voice came through the communicator. "Sir, my weapons are gone. I have only engines left." "Then use your engines, son." The young pilot flew his damaged ship directly into a Covenant weapons platform. The explosion took out 2 more enemy vessels. For 30 minutes, 17 ships fought 800. They could not win. They knew this. But they made the enemy pay for every inch of space. They made them bleed. Chen's ship took a fatal hit. Alarms screamed. Fire spread through the corridors. He ordered everyone to the escape pods. "Sir, what about you?" his officer asked. "Someone needs to fly this wreck into their command ship." "Go. Now." The crew escaped. Chen sat alone on his dying bridge. He aimed his burning ship at the largest enemy vessel. His final transmission echoed across the system. "Tell my children their father went down fighting. Tell them humans never give up. Ever." The Defiant Hope crashed into the Covenant command vessel. Both disappeared in light, but the human fleet was nearly gone. Only 3 ships remained. The Covenant continued toward Earth. Their weapon, the silence, was charging. In hours, it would fire. 8 billion lives would end. Then space itself tore open. The Valanthy Armada arrived. Hundreds of crystal warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. They were the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. But they were not alone. Behind them came more ships, different ships. Vessels from a dozen different species. Merchants. Explorers. Even pirates and smugglers. Word of Aelindra's story had spread across the galaxy. Word of humans who saved an alien princess. Word of children who taught her to love again. They had come to help. On the Valanthy flagship, Aelindra commanded the combined fleet. Marcus and Lily stood beside her. They watched the battle unfold on massive screens. "All ships, engage the enemy," Aelindra ordered. "Protect Earth at all costs." The battle exploded across space. Crystal ships met dark vessels. Energy weapons painted the void with color. Ships died on both sides, but the silence continued charging. The battle was a distraction. Someone needed to stop the weapon directly. Marcus pulled his mother's sleeve. Mother, I studied the weapon's design. The information Lily and I found. There is a small access point. A maintenance tunnel. Alindra looked down at him. What are you saying? Adults cannot fit through it. But we can. Marcus looked at his sister. Lily nodded bravely. We can get inside and stop it. No. Alindra's voice broke. Absolutely not. You are children. We are human children, Marcus said. His voice was calm and strong. This is what humans do. You taught us that. Elena taught us that. We protect the people we love. Lily took her mother's hand. Earth is full of children like us. They have never seen the stars. They have never had a chance. Please, Mother. Let us give them that chance. Alindra felt tears on her face. She looked at her children. So small. So brave. So very human. She knelt and held them tightly. Come back to me, she whispered. Promise me. We promise, they said together. A small shuttle carried the children through the chaos of battle. Fighters escorted them. Alindra watched on her screen, her heart breaking with every second. The shuttle reached the silence. The children put on emergency suits. They climbed through the tiny maintenance tunnel. Inside, they found something unexpected. Slaves. Prisoners from many species, including humans. They had been forced to operate the weapon. They were chained and afraid. Marcus did not just disable the weapon. He reprogrammed its core. His young mind remembered every engineering trick from New Appalachia. And Lily opened the slave chambers. She led the prisoners to escape pods. Because that is what Elena would have done. That is what humans do. The silence exploded. The weapon died in a bloom of light. Half the Covenant fleet died with it. The prisoners escaped in pods falling toward Earth. The enemy broke. Their coalition shattered. The battle became a victory, but Marcus and Lily's shuttle was damaged. They were tumbling toward Earth. Too fast. Wrong angle. They would burn. Mother, Lily's voice came through the communicator. We cannot stop. Alindra screamed orders. No ship could reach them in time. Then a weak voice spoke. This is Lieutenant Commander Chen, Escape Pod 77 Alpha. I see those kids. I am coming. Chen was alive. Barely. His escape pod flew toward the tumbling shuttle. He matched their speed. He locked onto them. Chen, Alindra cried. Your pod cannot survive re-entry with that weight. His voice came back, tired but smiling. Yeah, but they can. That is enough. The pod fell toward Earth like a burning star. The escape pod fell through Earth's atmosphere like a meteor. Fire surrounded it. Metal screamed and twisted. Inside, Lieutenant Commander Chen held the controls with broken hands. Behind him, Marcus and Lily huddled together in their emergency suits. Hold on, kids, Chen said through gritted teeth. Almost there. The pod was never designed for this. It was too heavy. Too fast. The heat shields were failing. Chen knew he would not survive. But the children might. That was enough. He angled the pod toward the ocean. Water was softer than land. The children had a chance. Mr. Chen, Lily called out. Her voice was scared but strong. Thank you. Chen smiled. Blood was on his face. His vision was fading. Tell your mother something for me, he said. Tell her humans never give up. Ever. The pod hit the water. Everything went white. 3 days later, Alindra stood on an Earth beach. The ocean stretched before her. Rescue ships flew overhead. The whole planet was celebrating survival. But Alindra was not celebrating. She was waiting. A small boat appeared on the horizon. It came closer. Alindra's heart pounded in her chest. She had not slept in 3 days. She had not eaten. She had only prayed to gods she did not believe in. The boat reached the shore. 2 small figures jumped out and ran toward her. Mother! Marcus and Lily crashed into her arms. Alindra fell to her knees in the sand. She held them so tightly she feared she might break them. Tears streamed down her silver-blue face. You came back, she whispered. You promised, and you came back. Humans keep their promises, Marcus said. His voice was proud. Lily looked up with serious eyes. Mr. Chen saved us, Mother. He made the pod go into the water. He protected us. I know, little flower. I know. Is he okay? Alindra hesitated. Then she smiled through her tears. Fishing boats found the pod. Chen was badly hurt. But he is alive. Doctors are helping him. He lost his legs, but he survived. Lily clapped her hands. Humans never give up. Alindra laughed. It was a real laugh, full of joy and relief. She had learned to laugh like this from Elena, from her children, from humanity itself. 6 months passed. The galaxy was changed forever. The Hollow Covenant was destroyed. Its leaders faced justice. The species who had joined the Covenant out of despair were given help instead of punishment. New worlds were found for them. New hope was given. Princess Thessaly was not executed. Alindra had argued for mercy. She was sent to a distant monastery world. She would live but never hold power again. Vengeance is poison, Alindra had told the court. Humans taught me this. Even enemies can change, given time. The human quarantine was lifted. For the first time in centuries, humans could travel freely among the stars. They could visit other worlds. They could make friends with other species. They could spread across the galaxy. And they did, but they did not conquer. They did not dominate. They did something far more powerful. They made friends. Human traders brought goods and laughter to distant markets. Human doctors healed sick aliens on forgotten planets. Human engineers fixed machines that others called impossible to repair. Human artists created paintings and songs that made other species weep with beauty. Everywhere humans went, they changed things. Slowly, gently, permanently. They adopted orphans of every species, because that is what humans do. They stood up for the weak. They challenged the powerful. They refused to accept unfairness, and they taught others to hope. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, a great ceremony took place on Valanthe Prime. Princess Alindra stood in the same throne hall where she had returned as a ghost, but now she stood as the official heir to the Empire once more. The ceremony was different than any before it. Alindra spoke her oaths in 2 languages, Valanthe and English. She wore imperial robes, but over her heart was sewn a small patch, Elena's old medic symbol. When the crown was placed on her head, it was not nobles who placed it there. It was Marcus and Lily. The crowd watched in silence. 2 human children crowning the future empress of the greatest power in the galaxy. It was unthinkable. It was impossible. It was beautiful. That night, Alindra sat with her children in the imperial gardens. Strange flowers bloomed around them. Alien stars filled the sky. Mother, Lily asked, do you think more humans will come here now? Yes, little flower, many of them. Will they be strange like us? Alindra laughed. All humans are strange, my love. Strange and stubborn and wonderful. That is why I love them. That is why I love you. Marcus looked up at the stars. His engineer's mind was working, planning, dreaming. The galaxy will not know what hit it, he said. Alindra smiled. No, they will not. She held her children close and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were spreading, laughing, building, loving, changing everything they touched. Lieutenant Commander Chen was now an ambassador. He walked on mechanical legs and spoke for humanity among the stars. He never stopped smiling. The freed slaves from the silence had returned to their homes. They told stories of 2 human children who had saved them. Those stories spread across 1,000 worlds, and on Earth, a new building rose in the city of New Geneva. The Elena Vasquez Memorial Academy. A school for orphans of all species. A place where children learned that love was stronger than hate, that hope was stronger than fear, that kindness could change the universe. The dedication stone carried simple words. They thought humanity's strength was war. They were wrong. Our strength was always love. And that is why the stars themselves could not stop us. Marcus and Lily had written those words. Two human children who had walked into a throne hall and changed the galaxy forever. The end.